Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here with us because, well, we're taking a highly atmospheric trip back in time today. We are going to directly compare the 1990 school environments in China and the USA. And honestly, whether you grew up in a China school or a USA school, or maybe you're just really fascinated by the history of everyday life, this is going to be an incredible visual journey. We're going to look at how entirely different spaces fostered the exact same goal of learning. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to try and think back to what a classroom actually looked like before modern laptops, before tablets, and before glowing digital equipment completely took over our desks. We're stripping away all the screens today. We're going way back to basics to uncover the tangible, physical reality of the 1990 student experience. We're basically entering a world defined entirely by its raw materials. I mean, just think about the crisp scratch of a pencil pressing into fresh paper. Picture the soft, natural sunlight streaming through old glass windows, casting these long shadows across vintage spaces, all captured with that unmistakable, authentic 1990s film grain. It's really beautiful. This isn't just history, you guys. It's a whole mood. Section 1. Inside the Chinese classroom, tradition and texture. So, our first spatial journey begins in the East. Imagine stepping directly into a traditional 1990s Chinese classroom. The aesthetic elements here are just incredibly meticulous and structured. You've got solid wooden desks sitting in neat, orderly rows facing an old, dust-smudged blackboard. The classroom decorations are remarkably simple and focused, nothing overly flashy. And you can see the students wearing their authentic 1990s Chinese school clothing, which gives the whole room this unified, grounded nature. It's a study environment that really reflects a deep cultural emphasis on collective discipline. If you listen closely in your mind, you can almost hear the gentle, ambient sounds of chalk tapping on the board and pages turning in perfect unison. And this brilliantly illustrates the real heart of the student experience, the notebook itself. Look at this vintage Chinese notebook resting on the wooden desk. Notice that realistic, slightly porous paper texture? It's filled with deliberate, handwritten Chinese characters. There are simple drawings and school exercises meticulously recorded right here, with that subtle, natural sunlight coming through the window to beautifully highlight the pages. It's just incredibly tactile. Let's look closer at this texture. Vividly imagine a student diligently writing with a standard pencil at their wooden desk, completely surrounded by traditional, text-heavy books. It's literally just pencil marks, a worn wooden ruler, and a simple eraser. This right here is the universal toolkit of focus, entirely distraction-free. Let's move to and see how this builds as we gracefully pivot our energy, leaving the quiet focus of the East behind. We're going to cross the globe to land squarely in a very different type of learning environment. Section 2. Inside the American classroom, color and casual details. Okay, we have officially arrived in the West, and wow, the energy shifts drastically, doesn't it? While the wooden desks are still here, the environment around them is undeniably colorful and filled with highly personalized details. We've got a mix of chalkboards and early whiteboards. The walls are plastered with incredibly bright classroom decorations, motivational posters, and authentic 1990s American school supplies scattered absolutely everywhere. I have to ask, do these bright, casual surroundings spark any of your own childhood nostalgia? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the classic American spiral notebook sitting right there on the desk. You literally cannot mistake those physical characteristics. It's got the bright, colorful 90s style cover, and of course, that defining wire spiral binding on the left edge. It's a completely different structural design from what we saw earlier, holding pages of realistic handwritten English notes. And when we actually look inside the pages of this spiral notebook, we see a much more casual, creative nature. You've got pencil writing macking out structured math exercises, sure, but they're mingled right alongside everyday, free-form school doodles down in the margins. It beautifully captures a learning culture that often allowed space for individual expression and wandering thoughts right alongside the structured learning. Section 3. A side-by-side comparison, analyzing the aesthetics. We've explored both of these distinct environments. Now, I want you to imagine taking one desk from the China school and one desk from the USA school and placing them right next to each other for a direct side-by-side analysis. Look at them resting there together. On one side, the traditional vintage Chinese notebook, simple, structured, beautifully utilitarian. And on the other, the spiral-bound American notebook, bright, casual, and highly expressive. Two entirely different raw physical designs that created the aesthetic vibe for millions of young learners back in the 90s. So the crucial point is how all these individual details actually stack up. When we briskly walk through this matrix and compare these aesthetics across the board, from paper texture and structural notebook design to vastly different handwriting styles and specific school supplies, we see a truly fascinating divergence. These 8 criteria brilliantly shape two entirely different visual worlds, yet they serve the exact same educational purpose. Picture both of these notebooks being opened simultaneously. On one side, you have the intricate, flowing strokes of Chinese handwritten notes. On the other, the looping, cursive, and print of English handwritten notes. It's such a beautiful contrast in handwriting styles when you see them side by side, perfectly capturing the shared, universal purpose of a student's daily grind. Section 4. Blended Memories and Nostalgia. The Universal Classroom. As we reach this final stage of our explainer today, let's just slow the pacing down a bit. Take a step back and really look at these desks. Both are now bathed in this incredibly warm, nostalgic lighting. You can see the authentic 1990s film grain wrapping around the image and those subtle, floating dust particles catching the afternoon sunlight. It evokes that deeply peaceful, floating dust nostalgia that defined the quiet moments of childhoods everywhere, no matter what language you happen to be writing in. Visually, watch how the two classroom environments begin to merge. The distinct borders of the east and west are dissolving right in front of us, leaving only the two notebooks lying open, side by side in perfect harmony. We've spent time looking at the physical differences, right? The distinct supplies, the specific geographic aesthetics. But now, those physical differences fade into something much more profound. It is a powerful reminder that the core human experience of education, of growing up, of doing your math homework and dreaming about your future, it completely transcends physical geography. I want to leave you with this final thought to reflect on today. We've seen all the differences, but when you look at that sunlight hitting the paper, though the notebooks looked completely different, is the feeling of nostalgia exactly the same? Think about your own connection to the past and what elements of that era you still carry with you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you in the next explainer.